So I'm going to break down the two trades that we actually took today inside of the live trading room, and I'm only going to use the volume profile so you guys can really understand that getting into order flow, understanding where real liquidity is and areas of high probability for reversal really isn't that complicated. So this is going to be a 1 minute chart here on my volume profile. I have a few different volume profile settings that I look at, but normally it's going to be in between like a 3,000 trade indicator and then a 5 minute chart. As well. The 5 minute chart I really like to look at to identify areas of low volume and low volume nodes inside of the markets and looking for different areas where the auction is deemed as balanced. So what I mean by that is if we look at this entire price range here, this entire area in between the value area high and the value area low almost is where the auction is fairly balanced. You guys can see the auction is just simply consolidating. Price action is moving sideways, and there really hasn't been a big breakout beneath or above this area. And what we have slightly above that is going to be this big breakout to the downside where we see a lot of low volume nodes in this area. So this is going to be an area where there's low volume and an area of high probability that the market, if we find rejection and not acceptance of these higher prices in this low volume node, we're going to see a reversal. So when it came into today's trading day, I didn't trade the entire morning session. I simply couldn't. And by the time I actually got onto the market, really what I was looking at here was we rejected the value area low. We have absorption here and trap selling at the low of day, and the market started to actually push up. What I really wanted to see was a push and a pullback all the way into these 90s where there was really not a lot of volume being transacted from this breakout to the downside to then look for another move back down. But what I ended up seeing was the market pushed up. We could see some selling efforts coming into the markets here. This is going to be my big trades indicator, which really what it shows you is whenever there's a large order executed, and I have my settings at 50 contracts right now, sometimes it's between 50 and then 75 contracts, but right now my big trades indicator set at 50 contracts. So whenever there's an order executed on the bid or the ask at 50 contracts of volume or above, it's going to give me an indicator on my screen that, hey, you know what, somebody just executed 50 50 contracts here or 100 contracts in this area, and it'll let me know that, hey, you know what, there's a large trader that just executed a position here. And that's exactly what we have here. We have a large seller that came into the market here, a little bit of a pullback, but then price pushed up. As price started to push up, I started to see on the footprint charts and on the heat map that we had trapped buying right at that VWAP and right where volume starts to kind of die off here, as you guys can actually see, kind of towards like the edge of value here. And at the time, we also had the point of control sitting just slightly above this area. So I was a little bit cautious in looking for a position here. I believe the point of control was sitting just like around this range right here at like these 81s or these 80s. And I didn't want to take the trade up here because it would be a lot riskier for me to do so. I wanted to see price push up into these 90s. So I decided to actually wait. Now, once price actually reclaimed beneath the point of control and we saw large selling start stepping in, all I simply did was wait for a pullback, and price pulled all the way back up into these 80s where we roughly had that POC actually be trading at. Really quick, I trade live every single day with my community Monday through Friday. We trade the New York session. Every single trade that I take, I break down before I take the trade. I call stops, entries, and take profit levels, and more importantly, give you guys a live mentorship on order flow trading and give you guys a real-time raw execution as well. So if you guys want to join me live every single day, click that first link down in the description. And once we pulled up into the 80s, what I saw again on the footprint charts and on the heat map was that we saw trapped buying at the POC. Now, there was a few main reasons for me to actually execute myself into the shorts here. One of the main reasons I executed myself into the shorts right away was not only the trapped buying, because we could see trapped buying and then new buying come in later and push us through, but we had 1,200 contracts sitting on the offer. So 1,200 sell limit orders sitting here on the 80s and the 80.75. Now, that happened just slightly after this big buyer came into the market with no follow through. And if we look at the cumulative volume delta, we could see how aggressive the buyers are hitting the bid. So if we look at this candlestick here, we can see how aggressive the buyers are hitting the bid, meaning that the buyers are trying to buy this market up. And notice if we look at the cumulative volume delta and we look at the price, cumulative volume delta is pushing up, but the price is remaining flat. What this lets us know is that we have passive sellers on the order book absorbing all of that aggression. And when you have confirmation like that, then that's going to be a higher probability that price is going to revert and go back down once aggressive selling steps in. So after I identified the divergence on cumulative volume delta, which I've talked about cumulative volume delta multiple times, which really you have to think about the delta is going to be the difference between the buying at the ask and the selling at the bid. And what this is showing me here is just the buying at the ask and the selling at the bid on each one of these candlesticks, pretty much just being cumulative. Now, it's going to look different depending on what time frames you're looking at. Like if I look at the 5-minute time frame here, obviously the CVD is going to look very different. You guys can see the CVD here on the 5-minute time frame, which we could see, again, how much buying came into the market. If we look at these last 3-minute or these last 5-minute candlesticks, we look at these last three, we could see how much buying came into the market here, how much buying came into the market here, how much buying came into the market here, and the market remained flat. But looking at it from a 1-minute perspective, we get to go a little bit more in detail, and we could see, again, buyers are coming into the auction and hitting the bid very aggressively, but prices remaining flat. So we had that as confirmation. We have the trap buying as second confirmation, and then we had the offers reload on the order book as well, showing me that passive sellers are willing to hold the market down and support the market in this area here. So after that, it was a really simple question of risk to reward. My entry was just around the 78.79s here. My stop loss was above the high here at the 81.25s, which is just going to be just slightly above this high right here at the 80.75s. And then my take profit was actually this low of day all the way down here. Now, I didn't end up catching the entire move. I ended up catching the move all the way down into this area here because we saw really large buying and selling start stepping in. And basically what I was looking at here was this is where we saw that absorption previously. And this is where we're starting to see sellers struggle again. So all I simply did was move my stops down into the 73s, and I ended up getting stopped out at a profit of a 4.3R multiple on this trade. Now, and again, this is me using a lot of the information from the volume profile and then also looking at a DOM as well. And I'm giving you guys the breakdown on the volume profile only. Now, the second trade that I took is after price popped all the way back up, we could see that these 80s held again. Price came back down. The outlier in this situation was also the CVD here as well. We could see as price started to come back down into this support range, we could see how much selling started to come in here on the cumulative volume delta. So after we saw some absorption here again and some buyers trying to step into the market here, notice that the buyers weren't getting as aggressive as they were before when we were in this area. This is going to be something that I'm paying attention to very frequently, and I'm not seeing the aggression from the buyers as before. So for me, that was a big red flag. And really what I wanted to see was this dip get defended. So this is where the large selling came into the market. This is where we actually had price. I wanted to see the sellers maintain price beneath these 74s. So originally my thought process was, well, okay, well, if we see new aggressive selling come into the market after this dip gets defended, that's where I'll take the shorts. Now, this little move to the downside, we did have sellers. We pulled all the way back up into the zone, and as price started to push back down, this is where I executed myself into the shorts here at 67.71.5, just slightly under the outside of this range with my stop loss above the range itself. And now originally I was targeting the 60s flat. The 6760s because we had 500 contracts, 500 buy limit orders sitting at the 6760. So that was my target. Immediately as price dumped, my stop loss went to break even, and that was a risk-free trade. And as price continued to dump, I started seeing a lot of selling come into the market at this low over here. And when we see this amount of selling come into the market at this low, I'm not going to want to see the buyers get back above that and get back above that aggressive selling, because now these sellers are underwater, and I wouldn't want to be in a situation where I'm holding a trade that the sellers and big sellers aren't getting paid. So as soon as price came back up, it stopped me out above. I had my trailing stop loss above this large aggressive selling. And that's where I got stopped out of the trade for just around a 2R multiple on a little scalp there. So those are going to be the trades that made me a total of 6.3R today. And those are also going to be the trades that I called out in real time on the live room. I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown and got a little bit more clarity on how I like to use volume profile, cumulative volume delta, and big trades indicators to make my trading decisions on a day-to-day basis.